We are in the middle of Torah Yud Aleph. Ani Hashem Hu Sh'mi. Okay, and we are up to part Vav. Part Vav in Torah Yud Aleph, part in the sixth part of this Torah. V'zeh bechinat halecha v'Kabbalah. And so yesterday we were speaking about this idea that Rebbe Nachman started off this Torah speaking about the Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem, the Yichud Ilah and Yichud Tata, the higher unification, the unification from above and unification from below. When Hashem's name is unified from the perspective, when the revelation of Hashem's unification is revealed from above, from Hashem's perspective, that's Yichudai Ilah, and when the unification of and when Hashem's unification is revealed from below, from the perspective of the world, and that's Yichudat Ta'ah. And Rabbi Nachman explained that these two Yichudim, these two unifications, are corresponding to and they're represented by the two types of Shmirat Habrit. There's a Shmirat Habrit where someone has marital relations only on Shabbat, and that's the aspect of the Talmid Chacham, and that's the aspect of, like we said, the Olam HaAtzilut, and that's the aspect of Kabbalah, and that's the aspect of Yehuda Ilah, the higher unification. Whereas when someone has marital relationships with his wife throughout the week as well, which is halachically permissible, is absolutely kosher, if his wife is pure and everything else is according to halacha, then there's no problem according to halacha to be with one's wife during the week. Then that is the aspect that is corresponding to halacha. That's the aspect that's corresponding to the worlds of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. That's the aspect that's corresponding to the Mishnah as opposed to Kabbalah. That's the aspect that's corresponding to the Malach, the angel called Matat. Right? We spoke about the angel, that's short for a longer name that we don't say. That's corresponding to Matat, and that's also corresponding to and represented by Yichudat Ta'ah, the lower unification. Okay, and why is that? Why is the first aspect the higher unification and the second aspect the lower unification? Why is that? So we explained yesterday that's the difference between halacha and Kabbalah. So Kabbalah is all about living in the consciousness of absolute godliness. There's nothing but Hashem. But the problem with only holding on to that, only grasping that consciousness and living according to that, only according to that, is that doesn't allow for any Torah. And we don't live in reality today. We don't live in such a reality. We live in a reality where there is a concealment in this physical world, and it's like as if a person would just close their eyes and say, "Oh, there's a bridge in front of me," and then just walk off a cliff, right? So in reality, that's not how it is, and there are dangers if a person doesn't follow the halacha, because then he is not truthfully in the true consciousness of Hashem. If he were truly connected to the consciousness of Eno Milvado, then that there's nothing but the Ribono Shalom, then that would obligate him. Okay, that would obligate him to act according to the halacha in every situation as well. Okay, because if a person does a sin, something that according to halacha is wrong, and he just closes his eyes and says, "Oh, but there's nothing but God," then okay, that's very sweet and that's very nice, but he's not truthfully in that consciousness. He's fooling himself, and that's what the Torah comes and teaches us, that something that other religions don't have is the fact that the Torah comes and teaches us how to truly connect yourself, attach yourself to that consciousness, to really be plugged in. That's the word. To really be plugged in. It's not illusion. It's not an illusion of just nothing but Hashem. It's actually be plugged into that Einon Milvado, and that's only possible if a person is within the confines, within the boundaries of halacha. Okay. So now, Kabbalah is all about living within the consciousness of only Hashem, and halacha is all about coming from a place of, now that there is a mixture of good and bad in the world that came about through the sin of Adam Arishon. We spoke about that yesterday. That because of the sin of Adam Arishon, now there is, right, from the tree of good and bad, knowledge of good and bad, dat tov v'ra. Through that, as the Arizal says, the whole of creation, all of the four elements of the world, and all of the four categories of the world, the inanimate, the plant life, the animals, and the man that speaks, all of those four categories of creation were all mixed good and bad. Okay, and so now we live in a reality, after that sin, we live in a reality of the tov v'ra, the good and the bad, and that reality means that we are in a place of concealment. And in order for us to reach that level of absolute godliness, we have to go through the process that the halacha shows us, and how to select the good from the bad, and how to stay within the boundaries of halacha. And only once we are in that place, we are able to ascend further into a place of absolute godliness, right? So and that's the aspect. That's why, obviously, if a person, okay, so there's a big rule in Chassidut and Kabbalah where this is the relationship between the 6 days of the week and the Shabbat. So the 6 days of the week is all about halacha, and Shabbat is all about Kabbalah. It's all about the absolute dveikut. It's absolute godliness, consciousness. And you're absolutely within there. Obviously, there's a lot of fulfilling, making sure that you're within the boundaries of halacha on Shabbat as well. But relatively, that's what these two aspects represent. Now, the Chachamim and Kabbalah and the Chassidut all explain that a person's Shabbat a person will merit the light of Shabbat in the same amount and relative to how much he was serving Hashem during the week. And so this is the point of here. Obviously, a person can come to Shabbat and he's doing tshuva for the way he served Hashem during the week, and now he's beginning anew and he can merit tremendous light, right? And that's the proper way to come to Shabbat. Shabbat is all about doing teshuva for the week, and Friday is a day of teshuva. You're doing teshuva for the week, and now you come into Shabbat and you're starting anew, you're starting fresh. But the point being that in as much as a person has followed halacha, has kept himself within the boundaries of halacha, which is serving Hashem in the aspect of the 6 days of the week, the 3 and the 3, then a person will merit that much more so, he will merit that much more levels of dveikut, of experiencing Hashem's light and that divine consciousness of Ein Od Milvado on Shabbat, the aspect of Chachma and the aspect of the Olam HaAtzilut. And so that's the difference between Yehuda Ilah and Yehuda Tata'ah, the higher unification or the lower unification. The lower unification is all about, as we said a couple times, we mentioned this even at the beginning, we said how the lower unification is all about, it's all about perceiving Hashem as one, as the only one, from the separateness, perceiving the oneness from the separateness of this physical world. Whereas the Yehuda Ilah, the higher unification, is about perceiving how all of the parts, all of the separation are really an illusion, and they're all really part of the one. So it's from the perspective of Hashem. So that's exactly what we're speaking about. In halacha, we're coming from a place, a perception that there is separateness, and from that separateness, we recognize that really it's all part of one. Really, there is no separateness, it's all part of one. Whereas on Shabbat, we are coming from a place of Hashem's perspective, that there's nothing but the Ribono Shel Olam, and from that place, I see everything, all the separateness around me, as only being part of this one, being part of Hashem. Okay, so that's the difference between these two Yehudim. That's the difference between Shabbat and the 6 days of the week. Halacha, Kabbalah, the Malach, the angel Matat, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, and all these, and the Shema, and the Baruch Shem, and the Shmir Tabrit of the Talmid Chacham, of being with one's wife only on Friday night, or the Shmir Tabrit of someone that's not a Talmid Chacham, that he's with his wife also during the week. Okay, Bezeh Bechinat Halacha veKabbalah. And so these are the two aspects of halacha and Kabbalah. Kabbalah hi bechinat yishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh asher tevot Kabbalah. So in the beginning of these 4 words, yishtachavu l'Hashem behadrat kodesh, which is the pasuk in Tehillim, and it means that you should bow down to Hashem in the greatness of His holiness, and the greatness of His holiness, and the splendor of His holiness. Okay, and so these words are Rashi Tevot Kabbalah. backwards. Okay, if you read from Kodesh, it starts with a Kuf. Behadra starts with a Bet. La Hashem starts with a Lamed. And Ishtachvu starts with a Hey. It's the letters Kabbalah. Rashi Tevot Kabbalah. והלכה היא בחינת הריעו לאדוני כל הארץ. ראשי תיבות הלכה כמובן בכוונות. And this is brought in the kavanot of the Shar Kavanot. It says this of the Arizal. הריעו לאדוני כל הארץ is another pasuk in Tehillim that you should sound the joyous song to Hashem from all the earth, from all the land. Okay, so and that's Rashi Tevot Halacha in the right order. Okay, there's a reason why this one of them is backwards and one of them is forwards, but we don't have to get into that right now. The point is, one of them is from perspective of Hashem and one of them is from our perspective, and so that's the difference. That's why one of them is backwards and one of them is forwards. It depends which perspective you're looking from. The point is now, if you look in these psukim are beautiful descriptions of these two aspects. So bowing to Hashem in the grandeur of Hashem's holiness, it's an aspect of bittul, it's an aspect of nullifying oneself to absolute godliness. Okay, that's what bowing down is all about. Bowing down is one of the greatest things that we can do in Shmona Esrei, in the Kavanot. We see that the points of the Shmona Esrei, when we bow down to Hashem, are the points that we're drawing from the highest states of consciousness, of absolute, the greatest places in the Olamot HaElyonim, the greatest worlds, the highest worlds. We're drawing from there. Okay, so bowing down is an aspect of nullifying oneself to absolute complete godliness. And so that's the aspect of Kabbalah. That's what Kabbalah is all about. Whereas the other one is about sounding or singing to Hashem from all the land. Is the aspect of all the land, all the separateness, all the separate aspects of the world are recognizing and they're all testifying to the oneness of the Ribono Shel Olam, which is exactly the lower Yichud. That's exactly what the second unification is all about, the Baruch Shem. So now let's see how Rabbi Nachman explains it. Hishtachvu l'Adonai b'hadat kodesh, right? Bow down to Hashem in the grandeur of holiness. Okay, zeh bechinat yichudai la'ah. This is the higher unification. Hainu zivug Shabbat, when the Talmid Chacham, which is the aspect of the Talmid Chacham having marital relations on Friday night, on Shabbat, v'zeh bechinat brit ila'ah, and that's the higher aspect of the brit. The higher aspect of the brit has this aspect of bowing down, which is a complete bitul. It's the higher aspect of the brit. So there's a big secret in the Zohar about the Yesod. The Yesod is the aspect of the brit, and the Yesod comes after the sphere of Tiferet, and then there's the Yesod. Between the Netzach and the Hod, you have the Yesod, and it's the extension of the Tiferet. According to Kabbalah, the Yesod has a very, very, very tremendous significance over all the other Sfirot, that the Yesod has the power to be included in the highest places of the Keter, and then to draw down that light from the highest places of the Keter, of the crown, all the way to the lowest Sphira of Malchut. And that's the aspect of the Yesod. And so, this aspect, the higher aspect of the Yesod, being included in the highest parts in the highest Sfirot, is the aspect of being nullified. Okay, in order to be included in something greater, it has to have a bitul. That's the aspect of ishtachavaya. That's the aspect of bowing down. So we see, and in because of that aspect that the Yesod has, that's why the Yesod is the king, and everyone bows down to him. Understand? It's a paradox. The fact that he is completely included in the highest parts, and that's why everyone bows down to him, and he's the king. Yosef is the king. And that's why we see the aspect of bowing down by Yosef in the pasuk. That the brothers of Yosef came and bowed down to him. And he himself, Yosef himself, is this aspect of the grandeur of holiness, right? Kodesh, Kedusha, as we said, you don't find, Chazal teach us that wherever we find Kedusha, whenever we find this aspect of holiness, it's because there is Shmirat Abrit, there is protection and cleanliness from immorality, from sexual immorality. and that's what brings kedusha. And so Yosef is called kadosh because Yosef is the one who's perfected in this point. And also grandeur, the word hadrat, is also an aspect that we see attributed to Yosef in the brachot that Moshe gives about Yosef, the Shevet of Yosef. Bechor shoro hadar lo. He says that the grandeur of Yosef is like the firstborn ox. Bechor shoro hadar lo. The grandeur of a bechor, of the firstborn ox, is to him. Okay, so that's the aspect of hadar. So Yosef is hadar. Has the aspect of grandeur and the aspect of holiness, kodesh, hadrat kodesh, and that's Kabbalah, right? That's the aspect of Kabbalah, the higher aspect of the Yisod. Hariu l'Adonai kol haaretz, sing to him from all of the land. Ze bechinat yichudat ta'ah. That's the lower aspect of the Yisod, the lower unification. Hainu zivug shelchol, which corresponds to the marital relations of during the week. Shu b'bchinat matat, which is the aspect of the angel matat. Sheshu tanutei v'sheshet yimei achol, and he is the one who he is the one who how should you say this? He is the one through which Hashem runs the world during the days of the week. Okay, Hashem's hanhaga, Hashem running the world is done, and that is done through within and enclosed within this angel of Malach, this angel Matat, the Malach Matat. And so it seems like he is the one running the world during the week, but really it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu that, so to speak, is pulling the strings of the puppet, so to speak. Okay, but during the week there's a level of concealment that you don't have on Shabbat, and that level of concealment is the fact that it seems like there is an intermediary that is running the world, not directly Hashem. It's just like the way when Bnei Yisrael first came out of Mitzrayim, it was Hashem himself. And then towards the end, when they were sinning and everything, so Hashem sent his shaliach, Hashem sent his messenger in his place, right? And so that messenger was this angel Matat. And so that wasn't on the same level. The Hanhaga, the way their relationship with Hashem was not on the same level at that point, because it seems like there's an intermediary, even though this angel is all like a puppet in the hands of the puppeteer, right? Like a vessel in the hands of the craftsman. But still, it's one level removed. So it's not absolutely direct, the relationship. Okay? And so he says this is also the aspect of this Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, Vezeu Hari'o Leshon Teruah Vezimra B'bchinat Mikenaf Haaretz Zemirot Shamanu Kimatatu B'bchinat Kanaf Leshon Velo Yikanef Od Morecha Ki Bo Mitlabesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Sheshet Yimei HaChol Kayadua. So he says now there's another hint to this Malach Matat in the pasuk of Hariu L'Hashem Kol Haaretz, sing to Hashem from all the land, because he says song is this aspect of an intermediary. Okay, why is that? There may be many more reasons, but one I'm just going to offer one way of explaining it, and that is that there's a difference between hearing and seeing. Seeing is a way more direct relationship than hearing, and song is experienced through sound, through what you hear. And also that's the difference between the heart and the mind, the consciousness, the spark of intuition, the spark of creativity that comes to a person. And so that spark it's a direct connection, whereas the heart is something that comes up afterwards. There's almost like a delay there in the feelings of the heart, and it's not direct. It's not a straight line. It's almost like circular. That's what the heart is. And so that's the difference between song and which you hear and something which you see face to face. Okay, so this aspect of song, singing to Hashem from all the land, is also an aspect of intermediary. And so Rebbe Nachman brings another idea that we see in a few places in the Likutei Moharan, and he says like this. He says that song is this aspect of knaf. Knaf means the corner of one's garment, or it also means a garment. Knaf can also mean the garment of a person. Okay, and the garment it's a clothing. It's another level. It's not a direct connection. There's a clothing in between. There's what's called in Kabbalah levushim, the clothing which are another separation in between. Okay, and so song is this aspect of kanaf. It's this aspect of a garment. Where do we see this? There's a pasuk that says like this: "Mikenaf haaretz zemirot shaman." From the kanaf of the land, which literally means, literal translation over there in that context, from the corners of the land, we heard song. But the word kanaf also means garment. So let's say from the garment of the land, we heard song. Meaning, what do we see from here? That the aspect of song is the aspect of garment and clothing. And now what is this aspect of a garment? It's the aspect of matat. It's the aspect of an intermediary. Where do we see that? So he brings another pasuk. It says a pasuk about Lati level, when Mashiach comes, when there's going to be that complete revelation of Hashem's unification in this world, at that point, there won't be this hanhaga through an intermediary. It will be absolutely direct relationship with Hashem. And that's where, over there, about that time, it says that your teacher will not distance himself anymore. Meaning, distance himself will mean he will not enclose himself with an intermediary, right? It will be direct connection with him. That's the pasuk that says, "V'lo yikanef od morecha." Your teacher, morecha, will not enclose himself anymore. He will not distance himself. He will not put himself in the kanaf, which is the garment. Why? Because on Shabbat, this is what happens on Shabbat, and Shabbat is 1/60th of Olam Haba. So that's what's going to be in the time of Olam Haba. Is going to be absolutely, completely this way. There will no longer be the intermediary relationship with Hashem, the relationship with Hashem through an enclothing, through a separation. It will be absolutely direct relationship with Ribbon Shalom, and complete. What does it mean direct? Complete direct experiencing the divine, the infinite one Himself. It's something that is unimaginable right now, ungraspable, only maybe in sparks sometimes. But then that's going to be our complete existence. Is going to be all about that, right? And so at that time, it says, which is the aspect of Shabbat, Hashem will no longer enclose himself within the 6 days of the week. And Shabbat will be Shabbat by itself. Okay? That's the aspect of Eitz HaChaim, the tree of life. Okay? Because the only reason why we have this concealment nowadays, the intermediary, the darkness of the 6 days of the week, is only because of the sin of Adam Arishon. And because of that, the world is a mixture of good and bad. And that's why the Arizal teaches us we have to go down every week, every Motzei Shabbat, the Shechina, the Malchut of the world of Atzilut goes down into worlds of Bia, into the three worlds of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. And that's called the exile of the Shechina, in order to select the sparks of holiness from that darkness and to elevate it back and bring it back up. And so every week we're going through this process until we finish selecting and removing and elevating and rectifying and bringing back all these sparks of holiness. And that's when the time of Mashiach is, right? So this happens every week. This is a process. And that's only because of the Eitz Hadat of Arab, because of the tree of good and bad, that mixture that happened. But when that is finished, when that process is finished, we are all ascending to the aspect of Eitz HaChaim, which is that direct experiencing the divine, which is all about, that's what Olam Haba is all about. And so now Rabbi Nachman, again, he gives us another way of explaining these two aspects. So again, the whole Torah is all about these two aspects, the higher Yichud and the lower Yichud, Shema and Baruch Shem. Okay, so now he's going to call it something else, and he calls it Razin. Okay, this is interesting because first we said that the lower aspect is the Halacha and the Mishnah, and the higher aspect is the Kabbalah. Now he's going to say that you can call both aspects the secrets of the Torah. However, the higher aspect is considered the secrets of the secrets. Okay, and this is tremendous because in the Arizal explains to us that the secrets of the secrets is the aspect of the secrets of the Torah that Mashiach will come to reveal. So the Arizal teaches us that all the secrets of the Torah that we have today are considered stam, secrets of the Torah, and then the inner secrets of the Torah, the secrets of the secrets, will be revealed to us by Mashiach. Okay, and that's like a completely different level. And Rizal explains that that's also corresponding to the yud and the spike of the yud. On the top of the yud, there's like a spike that comes up, what's called kutzo shel yud, and that represents the keter. So the yud itself represents the chachma, and that's the secrets of the Torah that we have today, and which are tremendous. But when Mashiach comes, he's going to reveal something, the secrets from the aspect of the keter, which is represented by the spike on top of the yud, and that's razin de razin. But now here, Rabbi Nachman attributes it differently. He explains it and categorizes it differently. And he says the lower yichud, the lower unification, is the aspect of the secrets, and the higher yichud, the aspect of Shabbat, is considered the secrets of the secrets. Okay, razin v'razin de razin. The secrets and the deepest secrets. So razin, the secrets of bechinat halacha. Why is that considered secrets? Because halacha is also a secret. Within the darkness of this physical world, the halacha shows you the sparks of holiness. So those are secrets, meaning they are not absolutely revealed. They're not absolutely obvious. They're not openly seen. But the Torah comes and shows you, hey, within that darkness of the 6 days of the week, here are the secrets. Here are the sparks of the king, the sparks of holiness, the treasures of the king, which are hidden in that mud, in that schmutz of this physical world. So that's also considered a secret. But then when you are within the boundaries of the secrets, the sparks of holiness, then you ascend a deeper level to a place where there is nothing but the presence of the king. So you're within the boundary of secrets, and now that you're completely within the boundary of secrets, which is all sparks of holiness, you ascend a deeper level to what's called in halacha borer ochel mitoch ochel. Okay, so during the week we do ochel, we select the food. Okay, in halacha there's one of the 39 malachot is doing borer, selecting the good from the bad. Okay, so there's one aspect of that where you select the food, the edible from the inedible, right? And that's the aspect of borer that we do during the week. And on Shabbat, you're not allowed to do it. Okay, but then we know that in Kabbalah, all of the tefillot and all the mitzvot that we're doing is always, our kavanah is always about selecting and elevating, rectifying, selecting and elevating the sparks of holiness and bringing them to the higher worlds. And we see that even on Shabbat. Even when you make the tefillot on Shabbat and the brachot on Shabbat and the mitzvot that you do on Shabbat, we see that in the kavanot. But how can you do that? Shabbat, you don't do selecting. And the answer is because Shabbat is all about selecting the food from the food. Once you have only food, clean, beautiful, edible food on your plate, now you can ascend a level and pick the best, the most nutritious food from that plate. Okay, and so that's the aspect of selecting that you do on Shabbat. Once you're within the realm of the secrets, within the realm of halacha, which is all holiness, it's all about the divine, it's all about Hashem's will, it's all about within the place of holiness. Now you can ascend to a deeper level and ascend to a greater, more direct, absolutely direct connection of experiencing that divine, that in a much greater way. And so that's the aspect of the secrets of the secrets. Okay, so razin of bechinat halacha, which is the aspect of halacha. Razin de razin, the secrets of the secrets. Or bechinat Kabbalah is the aspect of Kabbalah. Hitlapshut Kabbalah bahalacha. Or bechinat anagat hakadosh baruch hu b'sheshet yimei achol. Shu bechinat yichudat ta'ah. He says the enclothing of the Kabbalah, or the encompassing of Kabbalah within the halacha, is similar to the aspect of or the way Hashem conducts himself during the week, where Hashem conducts the world by being enclosed, so to speak, within the malach of matat. Again, so that's Kabbalah being encompassed, enclosed within the halacha. We'll see more about that, B'ezrat Hashem, next week. Okay.